All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the weekly Lead Champ Pro training call. I couldn't be more excited to have someone who I've kind of been, elbowed with at many conventions and over the years in this business. I've known Matt, kind of by association, for probably the last 5, 6 years, I'd say. And I've always kind of watched him from afar. Just a quick intro on Matt. He is I believe, a five-time Hall of Fame producer in the life insurance business, which means that at minimum, he's written over $400,000 in life insurance simplified issue business in a year, which is exciting. Someone myself, multi-time Hall of Fame producer who's done that. I know how much hard work that it takes. So it really is impressive. And it also means that, the last 5 to 6 years specifically, I kind of look at the last 5 to 6 years, like I'm a millennial and I was like one of the last generations who I feel like played outside and then also like got to do with technology. And I feel like the last 5 to 6 years in the life insurance industry, it's that same transition of like the in-home to telesales to technology. So it's like you remember what it was like going into the home, and I feel like that is such a unique thing with new people coming into the industry every single day who will never get to have that experience, but can still learn from people who can kind of tell them like, hey, kind of how good that we have it today. So I'm excited to have you on, Matt. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, glad to be here, Jamie. That's great.
Yes, absolutely. So Matt, just to kind of get us started here, tell us just a little bit about you. Where did you kind of come into the life insurance world? Have you been in it kind of, longer than 5, 6 years that I've known you? What did you do before? And kind of what was that experience like getting into it?
Yeah, I basically did business to business sales for many years, but it wasn't insurance with another, my practice company that I'd been with for many, many years, and it was interesting. Toward the end of 2019, I was starting to get a little bit more frustrated because the comp was pretty low. It was, an average of 25 to maybe 40% comp, right? And with a small 63% advance. So when I saw the numbers that were possible with Family First Life and life insurance, I was just, bowled over and thought that it was going to be a pretty amazing possibility. So around 2019, I got appointed and with several carriers, but I was still at the other practice company. Lo and behold, 4 months later, the whole country shuts down, and I don't have any access to any business to business clients. So I really rapidly started trying to learn telesales and just did it all, on my own, doing YouTube videos and a couple of telesales courses, and I was slightly efficient. I was not that big a producer. And then, interestingly enough, the guy who I work with every day now, Jack Yu, reached out to me. He was my uplines vice president, and he's like, "You're pretty consistent. What are you doing?" And I told him that I was running a lot, some in person, some on the phone. And he said, "Well, let me go out on your meetings with you." So I set up several meetings, went out and showed him my presentation, didn't close anybody. And then he said, "Well, why don't you come out on a day with me?" And I went out with him, and he had about 7 or 8 presentations that we went to in person, and he closed like 6 of them. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong?" Because he just had a very simple, straightforward presentation. And I realized that I was getting way too complicated with the way that I was communicating the information, that it just needed to be, a setup, qualification, and then present, and then close, right? And so I started doing that in the field, and then by November of that year, I was running full time in the field in 2020, and and then 2021, I hit Hall of Fame, 22, 23. But in learning in the field, it was really, really great because you're running 40 appointments a week, but maybe 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 of them show up or are, at the home when you present, and you just learn this amazing work ethic. Dialing all day long on a Monday, running Tuesday, Wednesday, dialing all day long on a Thursday, running Friday, Saturday. And that, I think, completely shifted my trajectory because I went from work is hard to I've got so many appointments I've got to see. I need to get there and learn to put in much more work as far as um, just having a pace that I could run at on a weekly basis. And so my goal doing that was like 250,000 that year. I was like, okay, I can do 250,000 and I'm sure that's doable. And I blew past 400,000 in 2021. So it was a sort of a great trial by fire, taking the advice of, somebody who was producing at that level and seeing if it could be replicated just by doing the work everybody else was doing, you
Mhm.
know?
100%. There's so much to break down just in that first little bit there. The first thing was just, hearing kind of that light bulb moment for you where you're like, oh man, I'm really overselling and overcomplicating this thing. Like,
Right,
especially like a leads-based business, I think it's really important for everyone to understand. Like, if you are in like a friends and family kind of life insurance business where this is not a lead, like let's say Nick's my brother-in-law, I have to call Nick, hey, just got this new career, however their pitch is. I have to take Nick from not interested to interested. Same thing if I'm, going door to door and selling,
right,
pest control, solar, fiber optic. I have to take them from not interested to interested, and I have to show them the value of what we do. And by showing someone the value of what we do, you kind of got to have like a little bit of a fancy presentation. Let me tell you about what percentage of people die without life insurance. Let me tell you about all of these generalized things about life insurance versus someone goes, hey, I need some life insurance. You're like, they already know why they need it.
right,
They already know that it's important. So now the entire presentation just turns into like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a helper. I'm an order taker. I'm there to basically not screw it up at the end
right.
of the day, which I'm sure was such a light bulb moment watching Jack do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was really interesting because in watching him, it was so deceptively simple. I was like, this is not a good presentation. And then he closed everybody. So I was just like, okay, I need to rethink everything, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Coming from like any type of background, like where you had to have a good presentation, I think a lot of people have that opinion when they see like a very simple lead-based life insurance presentation because it's not a presentation. And it's
Right,
kind of like it is deceptive. Like I get on the phone with a guy just yesterday and he's like, "All right, give me your pitch." And I'm like, "Hey, good news and bad news. Like I have no pitch. Like
right,
I have no fancy presentation. Like tell me what you wanted." And he's like,
right,
and it kind of like was a pattern interrupt for him. He's like, you're not going to give me a pitch. I'm like, no, it's life insurance. If you die, it pays out. He's like, oh yeah. I mean, it's simple. Like that's the whole presentation. Now, as
right,
far as
right.
something that you can afford, he's like, okay, perfect.
Exactly. No, it's amazing how um people are there for the product. They're there because they know they have a need. They've already asked for it. They've raised their hand, and you're having to address that.
Mhm.
And I find that I build rapport while I'm going over product, while I'm asking health questions, while I'm, doing all of the parts of that. And a lot of the rapport is built while I'm doing the application, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that just that little piece there, I want to just pause there for a second. The rapport being built during the application. Because I have people be like, why didn't you build any rapport in the beginning? I'm like, that's not what the beginning is for. Like, I'm going to
Right,
go through and I'm going to confirm. They're going to confirm who I am. I'm going to confirm what they're looking for, revoice it back to them. We're going to go through and do a basic financial inventory. I'm going to get like the full on yes, like I want this insurance. I see that it's valuable. And then when I'm filling out the application, I can, use the rapport building to kind of kill some time as I'm clicking buttons. And
right,
I think that a lot of people get it backwards and they get into like friend building mode on the front end and they end up losing the sale on the back end when it comes to like because I use the rapport building to make the social security question and the bank account information like make that not so high pressure as
right.
opposed to like doing it all on the front end like I thought we were friends, why are you asking for my social now?
Right. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I'm gonna get this all out of the way in the beginning. We're gonna be real serious in the beginning, and then as soon as it's like, all right, should we proceed with the application? Yes. Now here comes. Let me hear more about your life, your kids, your hobbies, all of those things.
Yeah, and it's also a good filler because sometimes you're filling out an application, you want to fill the silences and that's best done by, hey, you've been doing this for a long
Yeah,
time. How'd you get into that industry? You have kids that are grown. Are they in college? What are they doing? So you've
absolutely.
got a lot of time to really explore that.
100%. One thing I want to back up on before we kind of move on here is you talked about like kind of learning like a different kind of work ethic, like when you were in the field. Because I think like when you do in-home, we had a different schedule than a lot of people run today. And you brushed over, but I want to talk about this again. We would dial on Mondays all day long because the thing was we were going out into the world on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we weren't coming back home. And if I
Right.
didn't have a lot of appointments, it wasn't a lot of fun, sitting in your car at a rest stop, twiddling your thumbs. You had to figure out what to do to fill your schedule. So you dial all day Monday to go out in the field Tuesday and Wednesday. You dial all day Thursday to go out in the field on Friday and Saturday. Some people would run Sundays. It was just a very different schedule. But
Right.
you talked about the work ethic. So it was like you experienced what it was like when you were not focused on a dial day, what that looked like for you on Tuesday and Wednesday. And
Right.
then you also experienced what it was like when 50%, 60% of the people you booked no-showed you because you didn't do a good job locking it down. And you probably had those days where you're sitting there like, what do I do? And then you
Right.
realize like I should probably just fill this white space with finding some more appointments, like going out there and door knocking, going out there and doing something. And I think that a lot of the people who've transitioned from in-home to telesales, it hasn't been like a hard transition from like a work ethic perspective because they were already used to working really, really hard. It was more of
Right.
a, can I learn how to do this psychology I do in the home over the phone? But I remember when I first got started, a lot of new agents, dial day was the hardest for them. They're like, I wish I could just go out in the field. I wish I could just go sell. That's the easy part. And I'm like, yeah, but the filling of your schedule, the sitting in the chair, like that truly is the hardest part. Like pressing the green dial button over and over and over again, even when you don't want to, and choosing to do that over other things. So like, what was that like for you? Was it like immediately like you had that work ethic? You said there was kind of a light bulb moment, where you started to figure it out, but like, when did it really hit for you where it's like, I got to fill my schedule if I want to make like my time worth it here?
Right. Well, I mean, it was knowing, um, when I had really transitioned to just filling my schedule, it took a colossal effort to get 15 appointments in 2 days, right? And that was the goal. Like, let me get 15 in home in 2 days. And I just made a determination. I'm not going to stop dialing until I get this number of appointments on my calendar.
Mm.
So I would go from eight to set appointments and take a little break in the middle of the day, but you would hit people at prime time so that you could do that. And the other big catalyst to that was, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So I'd been running out in the field with this really great work ethic, and I compounded that by watching these types of meetings, by going on YouTube and watching good performers. People record themselves live dialing. I mean, there's all sorts of resources on YouTube from FFL producers, and every single one of them said you need to run 40 appointments a week. And what does it take? Well, how many hours does it take to run 40 appointments? I don't know. But unless I have 40 appointments on my calendar, I'm not going to stop, right? Making that determination was a huge shift because I had lulled myself into a state of um, you know, not working at my highest level when I was with the other practice company. And 8 to 6, that's a good day. And was I really effective during that day? Well, it wasn't the same model as this. There wasn't like massive dialing. There wasn't like very structured blocks of time. And so I think that in combination with the structure the massive dialing, the structure made that transition from a employee mentality to a business owner mentality, right? And and
Absolutely.
and so the other big catalyst was my wife was going to a master's degree program, and she had to be on campus for 10 days. And I was like, I can't shut down my business and watch the kids. So I have to transition to in the phone on the phone. And that's when I made that transition.
Mm.
And I'd already run, you know, 400 appointments in person. So making my in-person presentation transition to phone was a pretty seamless transition.
So so you said like you ran like 400 appointments before you transitioned. I think I ran like 4,000 appointments in the home before I transitioned. So like you transitioned probably before a lot of the rest of everybody started to transition to telesales, it
Yeah,
sounds
because
like.
I did like a full year. I mean, I'm saying, those are probably people I sat with
Yeah.
300. There were
Yeah.
probably more like 600 appointments, but
Yeah.
um the that transition made it a lot easier because I had the presentation in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And it just made it easier to be able to take that in home and really recreate all the right questions so that people are engaged in the conversation, you know?
Yeah. I had a really hard time transitioning, and hence the number of in-home appointments that I ran. Our leaderboard was like, here's a top 25, and 24 of the 25 were doing telesales, and I was still the only person in the home. And then
Right,
I had like a fellow top producer who was like, Jamie, like, why are you? I'm like, it's just I can't. I'm like, it's really hard for me to do the over the phone. It doesn't make sense to me because I had all the stuff like the psychology of always sit at the head of the table, never across the table, didn't want
right,
Dude, like I had so many things that I was doing in the home, and it was a whole song and dance that I would teach people. And then the guy goes, "Dude, just close your eyes and do your in-home presentation over the phone." And
right,
I thought I had to do some different, say some fancy words about, hey, I'm going to make sure like everybody has their own way of doing it. But I remember the first
right,
telesales script I heard, they were like asking for the bank account and the social security number in like the first 30 seconds, like it was a live transfer, and I was like that doesn't make sense to me. And they're like, dude, don't overcomplicate it. Just do your
right.
in-home presentation over the phone and you'll be fine. And I just stopped overcomplicating it. And now it's been, years of doing this over the phone. And um, Josh Lockhart and I, we always joke around. We would never be able to air this podcast because it probably wouldn't be compliant. But we want to do like a stuff that happened in the home, like everyone
Right.
share your biggest war stories of the craziest in homes you've ever had. But I will say this: since selling over the phone, because I can't see them, and I also sometimes can't smell them or their house, whatever the things are. Because I've sat in million-dollar homes. I've also sat on
Right.
milk crates and trailers and everything in between. I think I don't prejudge the people as much. It's like for
Right.
me, it's black and white now. It's I get to
Exactly.
ask the questions, I get to find out their occupation, but like I remember going into the home, it also would overcomplicate it when you'd look at someone and you go, they can't afford this.
Right.
Or you'd look at someone and go, they can definitely afford this because you're looking around their house, and then you find out they can't because they're over leveraged.
Right.
So, doing the telesales, it just kind of came black and white. Do a good job of asking the people the questions on the financial inventory and help them with their insurance and don't prejudge them whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. No, somebody said milk crates in trailers. That's
Yeah.
sitting on a milk crate and presenting and then having somebody buy a big policy is pretty amazing. I
Yes.
remember one guy who I pitched on the street because his ex-wife wanted to get him coverage because he was just a mess. This guy was just a mess. She's like, he's got to get coverage. I could only get him guaranteed issue. But I was able to help her out because she knew that this guy who was the father of her kids and had just completely drifted into like a gangster lifestyle was not long for this world. Now, his policy is still active, so there you go. He's still alive. So, you know,
Yes.
but we meet all kinds, right?
Yeah. No, I will also say, and this is interesting. So one of the other things is you said 40 appointments a week. Now that number probably has also changed for you because that was limited to drive time.
Right,
Depending on what city
exactly.
in what area of the country were you doing in-home in?
So it was all Central California.
Central California. So I'm not sure. I know California just in general traffic is crazy depending on what city you're in. But like Josh was running in Atlanta, I was running around Portland, and it's like
Right.
if you had to crisscross the city, there was sometimes that like I had to give myself an hour and a half gap to get to an appointment because of traffic, because of
Oh
something
yeah.
crazy. And I remember like I think the most appointments I ever ran in a day, period, or had on my schedule was 10. And that
Right.
was pushing it. And I was late to every single appointment.
Right.
On average, I was getting like 6 to 7 with the travel time. And now I think the most appointments I've had booked on my schedule in a day, and of course, half of them don't show up, but I think it's over 30 because I'm
Right.
able to double book every single half hour. Now, I mean, that's kind of overdoing it, but I look at it as if I double book every single half hour that I have available, if I can possibly do that and half of them show up, I'm going to stay busy today. And if
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
shows up and I'm late to every single appointment, that's a really good problem to have when it comes to telesales.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
our ability to talk to more people has gone through the roof. And I remember thinking there's no way that someone can go write $100,000 in a month over the phone. And we've seen it happen now dozens of times. Now it's
Right.
crazy as you're seeing people write like $250,000 in a month
Yeah.
over the phone. And it
Insane.
just, the numbers don't compute to me because when we first got
Right.
started, it was 40 appointments a week, spend $1,000 to $2,000 a week on brand new real time leads, whether that be mortgage protection, final expense, whatever your flavor was.
Right.
And then, you'd sit with half and you'd sell half. So I
Right.
book 40, 20 will show up and I'll sell 10. And if
Yeah.
you were really good, you'd maybe sell, 12 or 14 of the 20 and you'd be a top producer. But it was like all
Right.
you had to do was just run the formula. So with my transition here is now, what's the formula for you or for a new agent with telesales? If you wanted to teach somebody how to do what you do and to go and, write, 40, $50,000 in a month, that 40 appointment, thing almost doesn't cut it. It needs to be
No.
bigger because the no-show rate over the phone is so much higher. Whereas with in-home, especially final expense, if I knew you were going to be home and you forgot about the appointment and I just show up and you happen to be at the house, we're having the appointment still. Versus I
Right.
call you, you can just choose not to answer the phone. So what does
Right.
that look like now moving to telesales?
Well, it's really learning to pivot, right? Because you are going to have major no-shows. So it's about having a day planned ahead of time and saying, okay, if this person doesn't show, what activity do I pivot to? I'm going to call my no-shows from yesterday. I'm going to call people that, um, I needed to get some last information on underwriting on. I'm going to call. I'm going to stay completely busy so that I don't have this idea that, oh, I don't have a meeting. Let me go get some coffee. Right? No, the mentality you have to maintain, 40, 50,000 a month in business is constant focus and for 8 hours, right? There's a little app called Time Clock, which is a great app that keeps you honest. Because when you're working at home, it's very easy to be dishonest with your time and say, oh, yeah, I worked 12 hours. And really, you worked about seven or six because you were up and down and this distracted you and that distracted you. And there was three no-shows. And then I got distracted there and then I had to eat. And, it's so if I'm going to do a block of time, I'll do a 3 hour block of time. And then within that, I'm running appointments that are on the calendar and I'm pivoting to dialing if there is a no-show. And that 3 hour block is all activity. It doesn't involve any admin. It doesn't involve anything like that. And then I'll take a little break and then I'll do another 3 hour block at
Yeah.
least, right?
Absolutely. There's two things there that I want to break down. One is time blocking. Time blocking is such a thing that I don't think people realize like how valuable that can be for you because it's like the idea of I'm going to dial from 8 to 8. That sounds really good, but
Right,
it's not realistic.
right.
Like you're
Yeah,
gonna get up, you're gonna do things, but like anybody can sit down and dial for an hour. Anybody can
right,
sit down and dial for 2 hours. 3 hours, you're kind of pushing it a little bit, but like everybody knows, like maybe somebody who's new on here who hasn't had this kind of day before, like if you have a day where you do work from 8 to 8 and you kind of slacked off, you slacked off. Like you look back and you're like, man, I was chilling a lot.
Yeah.
But when you have a day where you completely put away all the distractions and like you really dial the phone, like you end that day tired, not bored. Like there's
Right.
not a
Right.
single part of you that was bored the entire day because you're focused. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I just want to throw in here is what you're doing when you get no-showed. I think this is such a massive thing here that I think even a lot of top producers, because they have the luxury of just buying more leads and getting more appointments, don't realize the cheat code behind calling your no-shows, behind
Right.
calling your think about it's, behind calling the people who are stuck in underwriting, calling that person who the phone died when they were in the middle of the appointment the other day, calling that person who their wife wasn't there and rescheduling the appointment. Like there's a lot of money to be made there that I think gets left on the table. No-shows specifically, I think, is the lowest hanging fruit that you can absolutely go get to. So like, if you are a top producer who books a lot of appointments and then you find yourself getting no-showed, it's one thing if like AI is booking all of your appointments. Like for me, AI probably books 30% of my appointments, but the other 70% I book or my dialer books. So those ones that no-show me, the way I look at it is like you have people who answer the phone, you have people who don't answer the phone. People who no-showed you are typically people who answer the phone. So I know that I can most likely get them back on the line. So
Right.
if it was an AI booked appointment, they answer their text messages. If it was a phone call booked appointment, they answer their phone. Like they're not the person who just never answers phone calls, never answers texts, like
Right.
some of our leads are. You'll have somebody you paid $40 for 5 minutes ago and they just won't answer. And you're like, what in the world?
Right.
You
Yeah.
just
And
filled
they
this
don't
out
even
five
have a
minutes ago.
voicemail. They're
And
just
they have
like
no,
it
yeah,
rings.
voicemail
It just
box is full.
rings.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
But no shows are low hanging fruit. I would say that I probably, if I have 10 no shows, I can rebook four of them like very easily. Like all I have to do is just like spend, and it won't even take a long time. If I could dial 10 no shows in, 20, 30 minutes and I'll book four quick appointments. Oh, yeah,
Right.
sorry, totally missed you. So I think no shows are such a massive thing. But then think about it, that guy that told you he wanted to pay $400 a month for a policy that just he no showed you on the follow up, whatever those things are. Like I keep a list of those people who
Right.
have said yes but they haven't been pushed over the finish line. I call those incomplete appointments, and
Yep.
I just have a constant list of incomplete appointments. And when I get no showed, if I just finish calling my no shows, I'll be like, you know what, let me try to follow up with four or five of these people, and every now and then I'll call someone, I'll sell them on the spot, and then like that will be the sale that made my day because it's
Right.
like the rest of the day was not going well. I'm getting
Right.
no show, no one's on the phone, I'm not making any sales, and I could choose to go downstairs and pour a bowl of cereal, or I can keep dialing and then I make that one sale from that one follow up that makes the entire day worth it.
And there is a real momentum that you get with that, right? Where you're just refusing to let up on the activity and the focus. And every now and then you're gifted with a day that goes perfectly. Like
Mhm.
I needed to catch up. I had my dialer booked Sunday and I had a bunch of house projects to do. So there were five appointments on the calendar. And in between appointments, I was doing the stuff I needed to do. Four of them showed,
Mm.
and three of them sold. Right. So
Wow.
every now and then you just get one of these days where you're just like, that was a perfect day. I did everything I wanted to do. I went to the gym. I got these house projects done. I made 4 grand. It's like,
Yeah. But then you also
so
have days where, like, I remember I called Josh one day. I was like, dude, I just had a record. We booked more appointments tomorrow on my calendar than I've ever had before. I'll let you know how it goes. Call him the next day. How'd it go? Everyone no showed me. No one showed up, made no sales. I had 40 appointments on the calendar for one day. I didn't talk to a single person. Those
yeah,
days happen
it's
too.
happened. It's happened. I don't think I've ever had 40 appointments on a day. I've had 20.
Yeah.
And I've had those days where, you just have to, it's called intestinal fortitude, right? You just have to really, say, okay, I'm gonna say, oh, they said no. I'm gonna say, so what?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep going, you know?
We used to have this thing, and I don't know if this ever made its way to your side of the team. We used to say the field owes me. Did you ever hear that before?
No, I didn't.
So that was a thing that we used to say. Grady taught me. It was like this like cosmic principle of going out
Right,
in the field, and I still feel the same way over the phones. It's if I did the activity.
right.
If the results didn't come, the field owes me. And it was like I
Yes,
went out there and I sat on 20 appointments and I got my butt kicked. I did what I was supposed to do. I sat in the chair, I booked my appointments. The day didn't go well for me. And it didn't happen. So I get back in the chair and I set my appointments and the field owes me. And sometimes the field it owes you so much that it pays back, times 10. It's not linear. It's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
then I
No,
go
the
out there
harder I
and I have
work, the
a
luckier I get.
yeah, I have a record week where, I have the least amount of appointments I've ever had, but somehow I write the biggest amount of premium I've ever written.
Right,
And I tell people like when a week like that happens, now you owe the field.
right.
Now
Exactly.
you're gonna have a week that kind of sucks. So I used to also say like I've never had a bad month selling insurance. I've had more bad days than I can count. I've had
Yep.
dozens and dozens and dozens of bad weeks, but I've never had a bad month. Like other than
True.
like a child being born, I've never had a bad month. But
Right,
there was no activity. But like when I've
right.
done the activity, I've never had a bad month in insurance. I've had more bad days than I can count, days where I wanted to quit, weeks where I was like, this was absolutely horrible. But like Sheila says, activity, it always wins. It
Right.
absolutely always does. So, and the
Yeah,
other part people,
chance favors the prepared mind. If you're doing the work, you're going to be more ready for those times when you have a laydown, when you have somebody who requires a little bit more discussion. Yesterday, I had a guy on the phone who I had sold critical period coverage for his mortgage, right? And I said, this is a hybrid where you do get the full amount of the mortgage paid with the original mortgage protection that the banks used to offer, but they don't offer it anymore. But there's still a plan available through Mutual of Omaha. So we can get the whole mortgage paid. It is focused on accidental. So if you have any type of accident, it pays this much. If it's a car accident, it's 50% more. If it's blah, 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 it's 100% if it's a common carrier. And then we round that out with life insurance that's going to pay for any reason. And that basically pays you for a couple years of mortgage payments. And I literally had to go through that 4 times with him to explain the concept because he didn't get approved the first time. So the first time he was like, "Oh, I got this. That's fine. Yeah, that makes sense." And then I called him back to rewrite him. And he's like, "Wait, how does that work?" And literally, he had been declined from several carriers, so I had to go through it with him in detail. And then he got his wife on the phone. I went back through it with her in detail, got her sign off on it. So it became a stronger and stronger sale at the end of the day because it was, a high amount of premium for a couple years of mortgage payments, which is like 20,000 in coverage. And so you really have to sometimes just put in the focus, but it's all of the at bats that give you those 2, 3 base hits, those home runs, because you're keeping your sword sharpened.
yeah, I mean, sword sharpened is a great way to put it. Like the activity part, I think people don't realize it's not just like, okay, if I get 40 appointments, I sit with 20, I sell 10. I don't think people realize that if you do that over a long enough period of time, your numbers get better. They don't
Right.
stay the same. So that's where you hear some of these people who they start off and they're like, yeah, I would sit with 10, I'd sell two. And now you hear some stories of people that are like, I sit with 10, I sell eight, which is
Right.
like, if you sit with 10 and you sell three, like you could be a Hall of Fame producer in this business. Like you
Yeah.
really do not have to be that great. I know
No.
people who sit with 10, sell three, but the thing is they sit with 100 people a month, and that's where they guarantee that they're getting their 30, 40 a month. So activity is huge. I remember Grady Polson told me, as a brand new agent, how quickly can you do your first 100 appointments? Not set your
Right.
first 100 appointments. How quickly
Run.
can you do from beginning to end of 100 appointments where you get a yes or a no? And it took me, I think, probably like 8 or 9 weeks, which in
Right.
the grand scheme of things, I thought was very fast, which I guess in the home, like that is kind of fast. But then I remember I brought on a new agent who he was able to do his first 100 appointments in 4 weeks. And
Wow.
he wrote, and this was in the home, and he wrote 53,000 in his first 4 weeks. And I was like, I thought about it, and I'm like, what was different between me and him? His um his frame of reference and his learning curve, everything just happened so much faster. He had immediate feedback. Everything that happened
Right.
for me, it was like every appointment, every at bat, I learned something, but it was spaced out. So it's like spaced repetition for him was shorter. So it was like he
Right.
got more instant feedback quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And when he
Yeah.
had 100 appointments, he had heard just about every objection that you can hear in every underwriting situation, and he had tried most of the carriers. He didn't get stuck on e-apps anymore, because it's like that's what happens is I talk to new agents and they get stuck and they're like, it's the unknown part. I was explaining it to one of our new agents the other day. It's kind of like a video game. Like, we'll use like Super Mario, for instance. If you go play
Right.
Super Mario and you're running along, and then you get hit by the turtle dude and you die, and you're like, okay, next time I know where that guy is, I'm going to jump over him this time. And it's like you get a little bit further in the level, further in the level, further than you've ever been. And like same thing with like doing these appointments as a brand new agent. It's like, oh, finally I'm not getting hung up on the intro. I get a little bit
Right.
further. Okay, now I'm
Right.
getting to the point where I'm able to get through financial inventory. Oh, they're hanging up there in the middle. Okay, now I make it all the way to the end and I tell them the options and they're not picking one. Okay, now I finally have got them to pick one, but now I've never filled out a Mutual of Omaha application. How do I answer this question? What do I do? And it's
Right.
like there's this unknown, but once you do 100 appointments, it's like the unknown goes away.
Yeah. And
And
it's
now
it's
it's
a
like because the
yeah.
unknown goes away, you're not thinking about that. So just to go back to your example, the guy you just talked to, you kind of had a complex solution. You're like, hey, you're old, this is expensive. I'm gonna get creative here on how I can
Right.
solve your problem. And you almost like can get more creative with your ability to help clients when you don't have that weird unknown of like, what comes next because you had the activity. So it allows you
Right.
to like be more present, but when you're a brand new agent, you're like, I'm pitching these three options, but if he picks one, what do I do next?
Right.
And so you're
Exactly.
like, you kind of aren't as present as you could be with the helping of the client. So that's where like get all the activity out of the way. And it's actually going to help you in the long run, like do a better job to like offer the client the right solution because you're not thinking about you. You're not thinking about how to answer the question on the application. You're not thinking about who do I write this with? Who are they going to get approved with? You're just thinking about the client and how can I help
Right.
solve their solution?
Right. No, totally. And that idea of spaced repetition, where what came to mind for me is if you can spend 15 minutes on an activity, right? 15 minutes. Everybody's got 15 minutes. You'll build skill with that activity. And every appointment takes, the speaking part of it takes about 15 minutes. The app part takes about 15 minutes, right? And you can do a complete application in a half an hour. And if you're getting through the presentation and you're learning that 15-minute block every single time, repetition is the mother of skill. And that spaced repetition will build that very, very quickly, which is why to segue back to the in-home, that skill level built so quickly because you're forced, to confront yourself and to be present with the client very quickly. We've got a little bit more leeway behind a phone because they don't know when we're you know, that we're reading a script on this pay on the wall that you know we're scrambling with our computer just to figure out the program that we brought up the one that we sold because that's the one we can write that we have the technology
Yeah,
skills to actually do it with
exactly.
so
Well, this is why I wear this hat, the hat that's got the duck on it, because I had a mentor
nice.
back in the day who would say, you have to be like a duck, calm on the surface, but under the water, you paddle like hell. And you'd be in the in-home and
That's
you'd be
it.
like, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to do, but you'd have to like be super calm and still like help. And
Yep.
same thing over the phone. It's like they don't see you. So it's like calm in your voice while you're kind of panicking in the background, figuring out who you're supposed to write, who you're supposed to quote, how to overcome this objection.
Yeah, no, you reminded me of a mentor. Obviously it's those things that we say to ourselves, but this guy, uh, it takes incredible discipline to discipline your disappointment in sales, right? And he would say, yeah, one all heck wipe out 10,000 attaboys. you
Yeah.
know, and that's what sales is. It's like you fall down 7 times, you get up 8. And on that eighth one, you make a sale, and you have to celebrate the wins. Like it's so important to celebrate the wins because there really is a good payday with the celebration. And that's the beauty of what we do is that when we celebrate and we have a win, we also get good compensation for that. You know,
Yeah.
I've really been grateful for that. I had to discipline my disappointment in other areas and, celebrate a $150 deposit,
Yeah. Absolutely. How would you speak to a new agent who they have been kind of going through it and maybe they're doing telesales, they're one call closing, they've maybe had 25, 30 appointments, but they haven't been able to push one over the finish line yet. And it really is like when they have that light bulb moment and they figure it out, it's like off to the races. Like you've learned a skill set. Like I often
Right.
think to myself, I'm so grateful for this skill set. And like, of course, I don't ever wish this upon anybody, but like, if we were to take everything you have, Matt, right now, but you keep your skill set and say, hey, all you've got is $1,000 in leads. Like you have no cash flow, nothing. We're just going to restart, and all you got is $1,000, and you got to go buy like some dollar leads, like just penny
Right.
leads, whatever they are. Like I
Right.
have full confidence. Again, no one wants to go back in the trenches like this, but I have full confidence that you'd build it all right back up if you had to, because you have the skill.
Yes. Well, and that's it. There's this idea that you have to, right? So for me, when I pivoted to life insurance, the initial mindset was there is no other option. I have to, right? And because I have to, um, there was this thing that affects the way that you approach everybody. It's like I am going to help you today, and I'm going to communicate in a way that really gets that across. And however, we all go through those periods where you're starting something, and there's the frustration of not being able to communicate the right way or not saying the right thing so that it closes. And understanding that I need to just do one more dial today. I'm going to, there's this concept they call fourth quarter magic, right? And you can use that at the end of the month. It could be end of the month magic, where you've got a, a level that you want to get to that month, a goal for the month or what have you. I want to, make my first sale at least, right? Um, when you've got that pressure on yourself, amazing things happen because you'll make that extra phone call. You'll make that extra bit of communication that makes all the difference and shifts your perspective. But
Yeah.
I have to do that. I've had to do that, almost every month and sometimes 3 times a week.
Yeah. So one thing I took here is you said that like the way that you communicated with clients changed. So like I was talking to a new agent the other day and I was like, "Hey man, like no offense, but like you just sound way too freaking nice. Like
Right,
you sound way too nice and like they're leading every single phone call." So like what did that like shift in communication go to? Because I was also like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Like you're gonna keep on getting your butt kicked and then you're gonna get pissed." You're
right,
gonna get pissed off that you keep on getting stuck in the same spot, and then you're gonna start sounding pissed on the phone. And I don't know what I'm just gonna tell you right now. Like it's like not being unkind, but like you're gonna start sounding a little bit more uninterested, and you're gonna start making sales. Like you sound way too nice, way too interested. Like you need to start sounding a little bit more like I need like take like you would like hey the tone in your voice. You're like hey Matt, how you doing? It's like no. Hey Matt, like it's just I'm like put some bass in your voice. So like
right.
the communication, like what happened for you when it was like you learned how to take control on the phone? Because that's what new agents need to learn how to do is they need to learn how to take control.
Well, it goes all the way back to initially dialing clients for appointments in person
Yeah.
because there's a whole different way that we approach that, which
Yeah.
is very monotone.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Jamie, yeah, this is Matthew. I'm just calling with the estate underwriting, to set an appointment for mortgage protection, life insurance, or what have you. But it's all very monotone, right? And now when somebody picks up the phone, I'm assuming they're doing a presentation.
Yeah.
Like I don't say, "Are you busy now?" I
Yeah.
don't say, can we set an appointment for later? I've got them on the phone. They've picked up the phone. They want to talk.
Yeah.
If they were busy, they would have let it go to voicemail, right? And so I am assuming right from the beginning that they're going to be doing that presentation with me. That's the difference. I'm not asking for permission. I'm there to help. And if you're asking for permission or you're feeling apologetic or you're feeling hesitant, understand these people ask for help. And this is a life and death errand that I'm on.
Wow.
Literally, I am helping somebody's family when they pass away. They might not take it as seriously as that, but if I have that type of intent behind the reason why I'm doing this, I'm going to get better results.
Mm.
It's being assumptive, it's knowing the stakes and communicating those. But the irony is you're communicating them in a very straightforward, almost monotone. I'm a state worker taking an order here. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. But I'm not like, high energy sales trying to, ram a sale down somebody's throat. I'm just assuming they're going to do it because that's why we're talking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, last transition here, Matt. We obviously, every time we see each other at conventions, we always, bump shoulders, say hello, talk about how it's going, all that stuff. But, it was probably, maybe two conventions ago that, we started talking a little bit about, Lead Champ Pro, which kind of brings, kind of some of this group here together. And,
Right,
you made the transition again from, paper applications to, the first e-apps to in-home to telesales, all of these things. And now, like, we're
right.
talking about technology, AI. Like when I first, made the transition to telesales, I was still doing everything on paper. I had stacks of paper all around me. I was doing the paper calendar even. It took me about a year to switch to a Google Calendar. And then, now we're transitioning into, a CRM that's going to help you, set appointments, have your entire calendar in one place. It's going to use AI to help you book appointments. It's going to help on the client retention side. Like, talk to us a little bit about like that transition. Like, what were you doing before for like client care, calendar, organization, and kind of what's that transition been like?
Well, I've always used Google Calendar,
Okay.
so that part was good. But dialing from a spreadsheet where you're making notes on a worksheet is a is sort of light speed behind where Lead Champ Pro is because um, when an ad, when somebody responds to an ad on Facebook and they immediately get a text that starts communicating with them, right? That says, "Hey, I've got this time on my calendar. Would you like to is 4 or 5 better?" That's something that I would normally have to, whether I had automatic texts or not, would have to look at that text and go, I better respond to this person, right? So having the AI communication that is so seamless is a game changer.
Mm.
And the other thing is the underwriting portion of it. I was just looking at that this morning, going back through my weekly underwriting because some people I just never get approved, and I'm so busy I don't even follow up on them, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, this person needs a follow up. This person needs a follow up. And I had my weekly underwriting reminders. So I just started going down them and making phone calls. So those types of things for a highly ADHD sales professional are
Yeah,
really important to have because I cannot make enough notes that I'll remember or put stickies where I'll see them or even put it on a calendar because at the end of the day, I'm not very organized. So having a system that organizes you is invaluable. It's really,
100%.
really important.
We always joke around and we just say that everybody who really enjoys using Lead Champ Pro, they're all just a bunch of ADHD, over caffeinated sales cavemen and women who just
Yeah,
really just want to dial the next lead. And it's
yeah,
like that's what we want to talk to the next person, and we all know what we should do, we all have good intentions. We all know we should follow up with the client. We all know we should call the client 2 weeks later and say, hey, did your policy come in the mail? We all know that we should send thank you cards. We all know that we should do annual reviews. But most of us are just focused on the next thing right in front of us, which is
Right.
call the next lead, call
Yeah.
the next appointment. And this helps, at least to help me. Like a lot of the stuff that we created was to help ourselves. Like we
Yeah.
we didn't come into it with like a we're going to build a CRM for life insurance agents and that's going to be our full-time business. It's still not our full-time business. We've got hundreds of users, but like my life insurance business is my full-time business. Lead Champ
Right.
doesn't pay me anything. It employs our staff that keep it running and supporting agents, but we built it as like, hey, this is really annoying me that I keep on forgetting to follow up with my own clients. This is
Right.
really annoying me that my own staff who are humans, they got busy and they forgot to call the clients to tell them they're approved. Like we
Right.
forgot to tell the client they're declined. Like all of these things to be able to get people back on the schedule and to make sure they stay on the books, as best that we can. We can't prevent chargebacks, but we can do a good job trying to minimize them by never having the client say, hey, that Matt guy, he never called me again. He never texted
Right.
me again. He sold me a policy and I never heard from him again. It's like, well, actually, Martha, I've got 12 text messages as proof that I've continuously tried to reach out to you over the last
Exactly.
6 months and you didn't respond to anything.
Yeah.
So don't say that I never tried to reach out because I did. Um,
Right. Right.
so at least we know that we're, at least from a text and email perspective, we're covered. We can always do more. But at the same time, we got another lead who's waiting to be called. Someone's waiting.
Exactly. 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 So yeah, I totally appreciate the system because it's helped me be, just more efficient, more on top of the people I've already spoken to, and able to reach out to people more effectively as well from several different perspectives.
Absolutely. Matt, any like last minute advice? Like I always like to make sure like new agents, because they find these videos on YouTube and they're trying to figure out how to sell life insurance. I'm always thinking about the new agent, like just that person who they just haven't quite had the light bulb moment yet. Like they're trying to figure it out. What
Right.
encouragement can you maybe give them?
Well, what I can give them is have it's good when you're beginning something. Having a beginner's mindset is the important, it's just the most important thing that you can do with anything you're starting because there's excitement there, there's curiosity, there's this idea that I'm taking on something new. But then when you look at the confluence of all of the information out there, you've got endless resources of people who have had that light bulb moment. You can watch YouTube videos. You can do all of those things that get you in the mindset of, okay, I'm going to be open, I'm going to be teachable, and I'm going to also just be a monkey that repeats what the other monkey did so that I can try to get that monkey's result. Because at the end of the day, that's what I do. I'm just monkey see, monkey do. And the more that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, the better I can repeat other people's, the better I can plagiarize and get the results they're getting because I'm doing what they did.
Guys, you heard it here first. You would get in trouble in school for plagiarizing, but in insurance, you get paid for plagiarizing. So, copy paste, monkey see, monkey do.
Oh,
Matt,
especially at FFL because everybody's sharing all of their
yeah,
best secrets.
absolutely. Matt, thank you so much for coming on and give us a little bit of insight, man. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much, Jamie. I appreciate you, man. Have a great day.
Awesome. Absolutely. You too, guys. We'll see you next time. Nick, I'm gonna toss it back over to you for some announcements.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you so much, Jamie. You guys did incredible. Let me go ahead and hop you guys off here. Perfect. If you made it all the way to this point in the video, or if you're watching this live and you're going, man, I need to get a piece of that Lead Champ Pro. I want to get that for myself. Please go to leadchamppro.com, book a demo with me. I'll be happy to show you exactly how we can fit this into your business with your leads, set them up to automatically come in, get texted, just like Matthew's talking about, have the AI respond for you and book appointments on your calendar. Jamie gets about 30% of all of his appointments booked by AI. It's pretty crazy. So if you're not using it, we'd love to show you how you can. And if you're already a Lead Champ user, right after this call, I'm going to be doing Q&A. If anyone has any questions, needs help with anything, please let me know. Also, quick reminder, We do have office hours Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern on leadchampofficehours.com. So if you need help with anything, if you need live support, feel free to join us Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock Eastern. And also, if you need anything on a daily basis, please hit that support button, send in a ticket, let us know. We will absolutely get back to you as quickly as we can. Tickets are up every single week as usual. More people needing help, more users, more stuff going on. However, our response time has only gotten better with time, guys, and our average ticket resolution is now below 10 hours. We don't have anyone on Sundays, but Monday through Saturday, we got you. You know what I mean? Please send a ticket if you need anything. We're happy to help. And then last thing, I do want to share a little bit of the good news from the week. And you will notice some familiar names on here, guys. If you aren't already in the Discord, you absolutely want to be in the Discord so you can see the good news, so you can talk to other agents that are making it happen, so you can ask them what you guys are always asking me. Who gets you your leads? Who's your lead vendor? What ads are you running? Like, you guys are always asking me, what scripts were you using? Well, dude, I can tell you about Lead Champ Pro, but you know who can tell you how to sell life insurance better and who's getting the best leads? The agents that are out there selling a ton of life insurance, getting the best leads. Sheila had a story on here. Wow, one of my leads from a few days ago that wouldn't discuss budget or beneficiary to even get a why, right? Suddenly called today in response to my voicemail from this morning and scheduled for Tuesday to put in a $10,000 Americo app and may have a referral as well. Just a reminder, never give up. And my reminder to y'all on this is, it is the agent that makes the tool, not the tool that makes the agent. Lead Champ will do a lot for you, but what it can't do for you is keep pushing into that fourth quarter like Matthew was talking about, like continuing to track your time, become more efficient on your effort, and also practicing and honing your skills. And as Sheila said here, never giving up, because the field might just owe you quite a bit. And you just have to keep following through to get those numbers to come back. Benjamin, 279 with Aflac. Matthew, there he is, 3,600 with NLG. Let's go on the board as well. Cody, 6,500 with Ethos. Gary, 4,500 with Americo. A double sale from Eric Schmidt, 1,700 and 1,600 with Americo. People putting up policies. This is just in the last week. And then Ashton, 8,800 Mutual of Omaha. Michael Lay, 6,000 with American Amicable. And Derek, dude, always putting up the big numbers every single week. He never stops. If you guys are wondering how Derek puts up big numbers every single week, he puts up big numbers every single day on the dials. He never stops. I swear twice a day he cuts himself off mid-sentence with me to get on a call with a lead. He just never stops dialing. So why does Lead Champ work so well for people? Because it never stops working for you in the background. Why do the top agents win? They never stop working, right, while Lead Champ's working in the background for them. So if you guys aren't already in the Discord, please join the Discord so you can talk to the other agents that are making it happen in there. Ask them what leads are crushing. Ask them what they're doing. And please share your stories in the chat. Let us know what's working for you, what's not working for you. And, every time you get a big win like this, post it so we can celebrate with you. By the way, though, just a little secret. If you hit the what happened button to put your clients into the client retention campaign, our system automatically shouts you out in the Discord as well. So every single time you post a sale, it's getting posted out in our Discord for you to be celebrated, and your clients are getting followed up with. However, if you don't hit that what happened button, it will not send out the thank you card. It's not going to send out the monthly payment reminders. It's not going to put them into the follow-up campaign for birthday cards and New Year's cards and 4th of July and annual review. And so please, 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 if you have, and by the way, I wouldn't say this if there wasn't a huge percentage of people that pay for this every month and don't hit the button, by the way. We would not waste your time with this. But there are so many people that pay for Lead Champ that are not hitting the what happened button. Please hit the what happened button today. Put in your most recent sales after every appointment. Hit that button so that it can do the follow-up for you and help you keep more of your clients on the books. Some of the people using this are up 15 or 20% on their 12-month retention. Okay, I know a lot of y'all on here are top producers. You sell 300, 400, 500K a year. What would even just a 5% increase in your retention do for you for your bottom line? What about a 10 or 15% increase? I think you should push the button. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again to our weekly Lead Champ Pro call. We'll be back next week, 12 o'clock Eastern, leadchampliveddials.com. If you want to join us to dial daily, leadchampliveddials.com is open Monday through Saturday to come dial. And once again, if you want to take a look at Lead Champ, book a demo with me on leadchamppro.com. Thank you guys so much.